Hey guys, it's me, Dr. Fez, and welcome back to another episode of MedShield Movement Connect Show. As always, we bring you guys phenomenal guests, and today we've done that again. Now, if I were to say all her accolades, I'd be here all day, so I'm just going to sum it up. An award-winning thespian, an award-winning entrepreneur, and the founder of She Speaks by Lady Nam. I'm speaking about Nambitha Ben Mazwi. Get ready to know what you don't know about being body brilliant. This is the MedShield Movement Connect Show, where we connect the dots between fitness, health, wellness, nutrition, and of course you. Hosted by me, Dr. Fez Mkhize, and a special guest that we have every month, sharing knowledge, insights, and groundbreaking tips on how to get fitter, be stronger, and live healthier. Turn up the volume and listen close. Today you amplify. It's the MedShield Movement Connect Show. Let's go. Nambitha, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I mean, after listing all your accolades, I know you're a very busy woman. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yo, you make me sound like I'm Viola Davis. I'm a very busy woman, yeah.
I mean, listen, I can see that happening, especially
Yeah, thank
with your
you.
trajectory. But I feel as you are on the MedShield Movement Connect show, you are one of the MedShield kind of movement or MedShield family.
Yes.
How's your experience been with us?
Sure, guys. First of all, I think when you have medical aid since like a child and then you become an adult and then you have to adult and actually make important decisions like get life cover and so forth. So I always took it for granted, right? Because you're spoiled. You know that you've got, your doctor, your gynae, your this. And, as a child transcending to adulthood, you know that, okay, that's always covered. Until you really have a big life phenomenon. I'm going to be dramatic about it. Right? And you can never time it. And then you realize, sure, I'm so glad I actually have been diligent and chose this. I'm part of the MediPlus plan. And chose this plan and for situations like this, and for me, it really sunk in where I was so grateful for having medical aid first and foremost. And as an artist and as a businesswoman and just being between those two worlds, I see with a lot of artists, they do not have medical aid. And it's very concerning because you get injured on set. I've been injured on set twice and you don't get covered, and I've had a concussion on set. So that was on me after a while, and recently, last year, May, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, right? And that was quite an emotional roller coaster for me because it was back and forth between the gynae being passed to a different surgeon thinking it might be an appendix, doing the scan. I mean, no one knew what was going on with me. And then I was told, we have to prepare for emergency surgery. You have 2 days because I had to do a COVID test. And then it's just like, wait, what? And seeing how my medical aid prepared me for that. And, I was just like, thank God, because it was, I had 2 days. And imagine if I didn't have medical aid, what would that mean, and the procedures that were done and, having my medical aid approve everything in just 2 days, preparing for emergency surgery was very impressive. So I was so happy about that because I was in so much pain. And if they didn't approve things and, work swiftly with my gynecologist, I could have been waiting in pain for a while because you need that green light.
And I think for everybody at home, endometriosis is just such a debilitating disease because of the fact that the tissue that's usually within the actual womb is now in other places. And a lot of the times you have to do a number of investigations to even figure that out. And then to need an emergency one is something that was very stressful for most people.
It was bad. I mean, there was a point where I couldn't walk. The pain was just excruciating, and my one really affects me in an incredibly difficult manner. So, my gynae was just like, yo, we need to operate on you now because, and thank God it happened. And obviously we found out and confirmed what it is. But for me, it's also just the mere fact that I had the support, I also, can go to therapy with my medical aid and so forth. And there were just so many options. And even just, my treatment now, which is on chronic, my medical aid, actually allows me to have a chronic, side to everything and so forth, instead of it going on to my day to day. So I, after that procedure, I was just like, whew, can we talk about medical aid?
Amen.
And I just want to preach this gospel to other artists, to other young people, because young people don't take these things seriously.
And it's those little things that seem small at the time that can be catastrophic in instances like that. And in my mind, I always think you're a very busy woman. I mean, from the digital marketing, from the acting.
Before we go further, I actually just realized it's Endometriosis Awareness Month in March.
Oh, wow.
Which is actually quite, this is God.
This is what we do here. This is what we do here at
Just
Mutual
pretend
Movement
like you
Connect.
knew and you did it.
This is why we actually had it. It's for the month of March.
Yes.
This is specifically why we had her on, not because she's doing amazing work and she has so many movies out and she's so hot and she's so relevant. It's because it's Endometriosis Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
I like that moment of silence. Thank you for that save. Actually, I didn't even know that. But I do feel like in my head, it's just always such an interesting thing working within the media space. And you are almost like this hybrid of academia and kind of media in a way, where you're creative, you're able to express yourself, but you also have kind of that formal education, business science, and getting an honors degree there. You also run your own businesses. Do you think that's why you're so kind of meticulous when it came to getting the medical aid, or was just something that you think has been embedded in you from the parents?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm very strategic.
Yeah.
I'm a strategist. I worked as a strategist. So everything is so well planned out. It is so well thought out. And I always like to say to people, I have a right and a left brain, and they're constantly in conflict. One is saying, does this make business sense? Is this logical? I do an acid taste ratio on everything, even in relationships. Like, I'm not okay sometimes, Okay. And then there's the artist in me who was just like, just go with it. Does it feel right? Stay true to yourself in the moment. So it's exactly, so it's absolutely hilarious, but this is definitely a big part of why, because I'm a business scientist and because I treat myself as a business. I draft strategies for myself. Every single role that I choose or I say no to is actually part of my plan, I do quarterly reviews, I go back and I'm like, okay, I give myself targets. I'm like, okay, this is the phase now where, because I've got, presented as well. So I was like, okay, we're now going to leave the presenting and we're going to focus on establishing ourselves as a thespian. We're going to build an international reel.
I love that you call
this
it
is
a
the
thespian.
Absolutely.
It's not just a thespian.
That's the one. So everything has a time and a place, even with my media company. Now this year, I've formalized and opened an investments company because I have a passion in investing in properties. So everything has a time and a place, and medical aid, that for me is a no-brainer. And it's actually something that with my women's empowerment movement, She Speaks by Lady Nam, the last tour that I had, I started this business of the arts workshop, and before COVID hit, and the last one was amazing. It was in PE. It was an amazing workshop. It was sold out, and that really was to help other up and coming artists who are in the media, who want to learn and grow in it, but also to equip them with a business side of things and to start treating themselves as businesses and having that mindset, and knowing how to personally brand themselves, having medical aid, and being strategic thinkers. So that's something that I'm hoping to leave a legacy in with artists and help. And it starts, charity begins at home. It starts on set. It starts in, my continues in a platform that I have. So medical aid is so crucial. So yeah.
And I have to just say, listening to you, I'm almost trying to absorb everything. I always do with any guest that we have, but I find that the way you approach the industry and kind of your more academic kind of side is something that I feel I should emulate in my life as well. And on the show, we always are trying to connect dots. People at home sitting, listening, how is it I can do both? They seem almost in opposition. They seem like if you're too rigid, you take away from the creativity. What are the pillars you use? One, to be able to be holistic, so holistically well, because you even said you're able to admit when things aren't going great, and you kind of check yourself back and you go back and you go, okay, how's this going? Quarterly check back. So what are those kind of pillars that you have that allow you to excel in both these industries?
Chill. I'm still trying to figure it out. Okay.
It looks like you're doing well figuring it out. I feel like
you know what? When I left corporate, I still remember having a very honest conversation with myself. It was a late night in the office, and I was just like, is this really how I'm going to change the world? I'm not really fulfilled behind this desk. I mean, it was a great job. I was living in Camps Bay. I was good.
Life can't be
I
that
was
bad
good,
if you're in
okay?
Camps Bay. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't look around and be like,
no, but Fez, if you are in the office every single day, right, until late at night, and then waking up on a Saturday at 7 a.m., still going into the office, and when you're having, off time with your friends or this, you're still prospecting for clients. You like it just took over. And for me, because I grew up in the arts, I was in theater, I toured, my uncle's Winston Jonah, so I grew up infiltrated in that with him, John Kani and Fugard. So that's a big part of me, is that I always treated it as a hobby. And as soon as I got into corporate and that life took over, there was something missing. It was no longer, wasn't doing the radio show, I wasn't hosting anymore on the side. I literally felt so unfulfilled and empty, and I needed to be like, no, this is not my purpose. What is it? I loved what I did, I enjoyed it, I was great at it, but something was missing and I was no longer fulfilled. So I made a decision to say, no, I'm going to stay true to myself no matter what. I booked a ticket to New York for 2 weeks. I ended up not getting on the plane back. And that's really where I figured who I was. And that journey truly cemented, where I am now. I've been figuring it out. I've always known that I want to grow a media empire, and I want these two sides of me to somehow amalgamate and make sense. Sure. I just didn't know how. But the one thing I told myself is I'm going to stay true to myself no matter what. So every single decision-making process hasn't been that calculated. It's been through my faith, prayer, and me promising myself that every single decision that I'm making, every gig that I'm taking is going to be, well, I've sacrificed a lot. I left that job. I had no plan. Yeah. So now at this point, I have nothing to lose, because if I'm willing to, sacrifice all of that, I'm not going to, take just anything. I'm going to stay true to myself. And that helped, because now I know my why. When times are tough, I'm just like, this is my why. This is why I'm doing it. So my purpose is what really, truly entrenches and holds everything together. Yeah.
Wow. And I love it, because, for me, especially with long hours and you're working and you start to doubt, when your why is concrete, when the thing that gives you life, even in those moments where you feel like I'm a little weak, it can really bolster you and allow you to keep going forward. Now, you are a thespian.
Yeah.
And that means you're a shapeshifter. You inhabit people, you inhabit a body of a person that you're going to essentially play. And some people work, and clearly you do as well, but you also need to be in shape for specific roles. So how is it you approach that part of your life? Because some people find it quite daunting, and we are all about wellness here. So how is it you get into a role, say a role that's coming up? What is it you do in terms of prep mentally?
So let's talk about current roles and roles that I've played in the past. I think, the most interesting time in my life when I was doing 3 roles at the same time that were vastly different. And that's my role. I always take on roles that are different and that are never the same.
Oh, no, I know. She never plays the same role twice. Never. These are the things you do when you look at people and you creepily watch them. Never the same.
Quote, unquote. But, I was a 16-year-old Tswana girl, schoolgirl. I don't even speak Tswana. That was a personal challenge.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. I was like, okay, let's go. Yeah, that's my Tswana.
I'm Zulu, so that sounds right.
Anyway, then I played a defense attorney on Diamond City. And then an American, Shaquisha, with the double A, who was a schizophrenic, right? So in that space, and especially with that schizophrenic part, for me, wellness was crucial, because my coping mechanism, I had to adapt a new one with a role like that, because it can get pretty dangerous. I go in with my roles. I'm a method actor. So my pre-prod when I am allowed a chance to do that is, if I'm playing, I do, I did. I was a Muay Thai fighter for about 3 years, right? So in that,
I'm breathing out because I feel like, okay, the UFC history is also going to come out. It's not that deep.
I never competed. But in an instance like that where I need to become a role, my training is so crucial for me, because it gives me that discipline. So I train. That's the first thing. Whenever I'm about to take on a new role or I'm not, I always feel like you're always training for a role you don't even know it's coming. Because at any point you get that email from your agent and you have to be, it's tomorrow. So you speak things into existence. Yeah. You actually manifest them. And for me, the next role I want is an action one. So I'm currently in training. My dream role, which I am that's already done, Nina Simone. I've been training to be her for such a long time. I'm obsessed with her. I watch everything, and also I'm living my life as raw, as vulnerable, and as authentic as possible to train,
She's
to get myself
it into existence.
To that. So I become, and with roles like that, like the schizophrenic one, I went into it. I researched it. I asked my friend's sister, who is currently in an asylum and has that diagnosis, and I was like, I started speaking to her, and she gave me a true insight, as sensitive as it was. And I watched certain shows, I studied it. Same with being a defense attorney. I dug out all my old biz law books from business science. I then had to research law because there's a script and you can have all this legal jargon, but it's not going to be believable if you don't know what you're saying and understand how the law works. You obviously watch body language, especially that, you have to walk like a lawyer. As soon as you're on set, that's what you're doing, and you have to look like you've been doing it for years. So with the schizophrenic part, I really went into it, and it was difficult because there were times where the director and DOP would come to me the next day and say, "Are you okay?" And then I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, I had nightmares last night after those meltdown scenes, because they're watching it.
Yes.
And I constantly had to check myself, So an hour after I've wrapped, I would actually be in my car, put on praise and worship music so I can just escape. My faith literally is my grounding. So that's always my go-to. I would ask my mom to just give me an hour. And my partner at the time also an hour, and call me, and my best friend, and I was like, just call me and then bring me back. Because once you're talking to family, they're like, okay, snap out of it now, or that childhood name that you always called your brothers and sisters, they're like,
It's like, it's not that deep.
It pulls you back, the accent as well, and so forth. So that's how I get back. And of course therapy helps me a great deal.
Listen, we don't have enough time on the show to ever really get into the really good stuff with guests. So I try to get some quick fire stuff going on just so we can get a feel, a taste, get some of the hot tips to allow us to be better. Yeah. For you, I've got two parts to this. Okay. First one, I already know, find your why, ground yourself. That's what's going to pull you out, especially in your case, deep roles when you really are in there. Have that structure that's going to be able to pull you out. But 3 things that you tell anybody on the streets if they want to be successful, really want to make a go at it in any kind of field or career. What is it you would say are the 3 important things?
Where's my camera?
Just
I'm talking to them.
There. Right there. Tell them at home.
All right.
Connect the dots.
Have a vision. Have a vision. As we said, your why is your most important thing, because when you have those times and it's hard to get out of bed, we all have them. Remember what your vision is. If you do not have a vision, you do not know where you're going to go. When you're going astray and your vision is there, it will also take you back in. Second thing is, know your personal DNA. All right. So for me, I like to call that no one is the same. When God created us, he gave us different aspects. There's no one who is you. Find what that is. Find your magic and allow it to lead you.
Yeah.
3 is discipline. Consistency.
That's my favorite, by the way.
Every single person who is trying to get a great body, if you're in school, just trying to be great, you know that the key thing is you need to be consistent. Whether you're not seeing a difference after a week or 2, trust me, every single day of being consistent and just working on whatever it is, your craft, whatever skill set you have, keep working at it, keep getting better. You can never be an expert. There's always room to grow. So be consistent, devote yourself to what you want to achieve, and a little bit every day goes a long way.
And speaking of greatness,
Yes.
because this is the last part, I ask everybody
I need to take
sitting
my own
next
advice,
to me
so-
about greatness.
Yes.
Top 3 greatest of all time. In your case, I think we're going to go into a bit of a mesh kind of person who's been able to be a brand, who's been able to be a business, taken themselves kind of to that level where people know them as that iconic brand, even though they do all these other things. Top 3 people for you. You can't think too long. It's just
Nina
gotta work.
Simone.
Nina Simone.
I mean,
Boom.
what?
I mean, that's obvious.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Come
Thank
on.
you. Rep Pretoria.
Yes, and Diddy.
Diddy. Why Diddy?
You know what? With Diddy, he's a mogul.
Uh-huh.
And he is his own brand. He lives it. You can give him, okay, I don't know if I'm allowed to say brands here, but you can give him any brand, endorsement and so forth. And he will make it his own.
Of course.
Diddy in itself is a brand. And that man has been able to rebrand himself from Puff Daddy, who was just the hype man of Notorious B.I.G. Back in the day.
I was listening to Bad
That
Boys the other
man
day.
is such a remarkable marketer, such a remarkable mogul. He is so underestimated. I mean, if you just watch, he used to have this reality show where he was his own apprentice and he was working for Diddy. Just really
Showing
looking
age,
looking at how he's been able to build himself up. And how you can hand him anything, but he literally lives his own brand, and every brand throws it on him, and he didifies it, and for me, he's suave, he kills it, he knows what he's doing, he's found his personal DNA, and that's it. He allows it to lead.
I love it. I mean, granted, I would have added Dwayne The Rock Johnson because I think he's done amazing in this area of social media. But hey, to each their own. Yeah. Nambisa, thank you so much for sitting down with me. A very, very busy human being, but she's given you guys just lines to connect those dots. If you guys are trying to aspire to be great, this is what you need to do. She's somebody who's on the move, on the rise. If you look at her IMDb page, she's doing the most. LinkedIn? Do you have?
I do have LinkedIn.
I didn't actually catch your LinkedIn, but I'm pretty sure.
You need to invite me, and I need to accept you.
I'm a doctor. I don't do these technical LinkedIn things. But clearly, she is somebody who is working on all fronts, improving herself as well. And this is all we want for you here at MedShield Movement Connect Show, to be better. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. It's Dr. Fez.